Welcome back to Brilliant Fools. My name is Adam Green, and today we're going to do a deep dive on the C style of human behavior. The C style and the DISC, the DISC, four-pronged description of human behavior, that four-quadrant model, so to speak, of human behavior. It's a good model. There is some overlap, and I think we'll notice that today. Some overlap with some of that S style of behavior as well. So the point of today is going to be to understand how we can know that we're operating in this style of behavior and then adjust that accordingly for the situation that we're in. What are some characteristics of the C style? Well, the C style is going to be very calculating. You can think of C for calculating, conscientious, compliant. So maybe some rules-based type things, very analytical, detail-oriented, cautious a lot of times, disciplined, can be very disciplined, accurate, and accuracy is a very high concern operating in that style. Some of the potential overreaches or struggles in that style could be something like overthinking, could be perfectionism, trying to do everything just right. Sometimes even our judgmental tendencies start to come out when we're operating deeply in this C style. And we'll take a look at some of those examples of what that may look like. I've got a hair in my face somewhere. Okay, thanks. And so that's just kind of an overview of what that style can be described as and how I can know. I'm a little more into that style, but think of something in relation to, let's say, accuracy and detail. Detail-oriented, being very accurate, being very analytical. This can, a lot of engineers and accountants and even doctors a lot of times need to be in this space, need to be analytical, need to be very knowledgeable about the area they're looking at so they can tell when the details are off and tell what they need to change, what they need to adjust in order to make that make the changes they need to make sure everything's flowing well, make sure your blood's flowing well, right? If you're a doctor, make sure your numbers are flowing well, your cash is flowing well. If you're an accountant, make sure that whatever fluid there is needs to flow well if you're an engineer. And it's nearly always a desired trait, especially if I'm looking at it from a business owner's perspective. I want people on my team who can think about these things, who can operate in that style very easily and even very naturally, but it's more of a rare thing than you might expect. So your super high C style behavior only accounts for about 11% of people in our culture here in the US. It's not super common, but it is super desired. These are the areas that your CFOs operate in. These are the areas that your super detailed spec people. So if you're going to be a good coder, when you're talking about in the computer sciences or in technology fields, you want the C style of behavior. Talking about in the sciences, you want that C style. It's all around us. These detail-oriented behavior needs to occur. But it's not easy for most people to operate in that style of behavior. It can be very draining. It can be very hard mentally, very taxing mentally. It's been one of those things in our culture, at least in the past, that we've looked at it and we've said, because you're not out there physically doing labor all day, you're not swinging a hammer all day, you're not up on a roof all day or something along those lines, it's not as hard. The work is not as hard. And so we don't tend to have as much time off for those people. We don't tend to have as many breaks. All you're doing is sitting at a desk. That's not taxing. But it's almost like playing a chess match all day long when you're working in that kind of a job. And so if I'm looking at it from a business owner perspective, first of all, those are the detail-oriented things that I don't really want to stay in longer than I have to. It's one of the reasons that most business owners say, okay, I have to get the accounting done. That's kind of the last thing that I want to do. So I'm going to push that off as long as I can. And then finally, okay, I'll get it done when I have to, and we go from there. But it's also one of those things it's one of the more important things, let's put it that way, that needs to be done. And if I hire somebody to do that detailed work, I've got to understand it also from that perspective, that it's rare for somebody to be able to operate at that level all the time, all day, all the time. So I need to be conscientious of that when I, as the business owner, am hiring someone, when I'm giving the work done that needs to be done, when I'm allowing time for breaks. I know for myself, it's easier to take a focused hour and just hammer away at that one thing that's super detail oriented, and then take a break, back off, go maybe get a cup of coffee or take a little walk, or even just watch, some videos or something like that. Take my mind off of it, and then I can recoup, and then I can come back to it. And I find myself more productive that way than trying to hammer away at it all day. At some point, especially somewhere around in that second hour, maybe third hour, I just notice I am dragging. And I notice that I'm missing certain details that I should be paying attention to. So keep that in mind. It's very much desired, but it's rarely executed well for a very prolonged period of time by most people. It doesn't mean people can't do it. I think we all can do it. And I think we all should do the detail-oriented things. I think we all should do or pay attention to the accuracy that's needed for stuff, but it's just not necessarily going to be something we can stay at a high level all the time. It's like, in my opinion, for me, when I'm working on it mentally, it's more of a sprint than it is a marathon. So I have to do it in spurts, take a rest, in spurts, take a rest, and come back on and off of it. Other people might be able to do it all the time, more like a marathon, and that's great. I've actually worked with people like that who are extremely talented in that regard, and it's good. And you want those kinds of people, and you want them to be able to do what it is that they're good at. That's just not me, so I need to know how I can operate in it, when I need to operate in it, and what I need to do to adjust, to make the adjustments. Now, there is a C style of behavior that I think we tend to get into that almost everybody can get into. And you can notice it right off the bat, or not right off the bat, but you can notice it after a little bit of time. And that's the over-analyzing portion of that C style behavior. Sometimes to the point where we don't make decisions that we need to just go ahead and make decisions on. I've got the information that I need to make the decision. Let me go ahead and make the decision. And I think we all kind of struggle with that. It's rare to have somebody who doesn't struggle with that to some extent. So if you do see somebody who says, oh, I don't like details, I'm not a detail-oriented person, then just kind of ask them about this. All right, do you ever struggle to make a decision because you want a little bit more information? That's a C style of behavior. I want a little more detail, I want a little more information, and then it's easy to get into that over-analyzing part that kind of prevents from actually taking the action. Sometimes the action has to be done in order to learn what the details are that need to be adjusted. So don't let it stop you from taking action. And I think of that, I can relate that to sports. If I'm trying to throw more accurately or throw farther, so and that could be anything. That could be from football, baseball, shoot more accurately in basketball, disc golf, anything like that. I can overanalyze on the mechanics of that throw. All right, what does that throw or that shot need to look like, and overanalyze. But until I go out and do it and actually start putting myself through the action, then I won't learn that muscle memory to be able to get the mechanics corrected. Hopefully that makes sense. I think it does. I'll also say this. I know someone who is very much in a C style job and could operate at that level constantly. I've worked with many who are that way, but one person in particular I know who took it to the extent that he took his calculations over compassion. Let's put it that way. So you've got your accuracy over action, but sometimes you take calculations over compassion. And he would actually set up data analysis for relationships he was in. Not necessarily, I mean, it did extend actually to romantic relationships as well. So there's one thing there, but even other friendships and stuff. I mean, actually set up his analytics and analyze the data behind it. Some of it just because he was interested in it, but sometimes it was to make decisions. And not that there's necessarily something wrong with that, but sometimes the compassion factor can get lost if we go too much into the calculations. An example of this that I would give from the Bible is going to be the Pharisees, right? The Pharisees got so obsessed with the law, and I think we all can do this sometimes. They got so obsessed with the law that they would focus on the rules, on the outward appearance even, but they neglect mercy. They would neglect the things on the inside, the things that go deeper than just the thoughts of the mind and thoughts that they were conscious of and could control. And it became an outward expression. Let me make sure people see that it looks good and it looks like I'm following the rules. Let me judge others who aren't necessarily following the rules. But in the meantime, I'm missing that inside, that inward compassion, that inward connection to humans, just to people. That can very much become the case. But then you see Jesus even dealing with Pharisees on that level as well. So he'll deal with them in a very calculated response, very wise responses, and he'll expose that hypocrisy in them. He'll expose what is beneath the surface, but he'll do it in a way that he knows what's going on. I mean, he's analyzed the situation, he understands it, and he presents it in that way as they needed to have it presented to themselves. Another way that we can get too carried away in the details, another example of that in the Bible is going to be Martha. Martha, when she was so concerned about doing things and making everything look right when Jesus came to visit, making all the food preparation, all the things going on, and Mary's in there instead. I think it was Mary, who was spending time with Jesus. Martha's upset. Oh, she's not. So she's starting to judge. She's not helping out and doing the things. And Jesus said, oh, no, she's chosen the better thing. It's not bad, and it's good even. Good for hospitality, good for presentation, and to help people feel good by having a nice place. But the importance there is not having the nice place. It's so that we can spend the time with each other, with other people, and especially spending time with Christ. If you want another example of where the C style has come in Scripture, some of the Old Testament examples, if you think of Daniel, when he refused to defile himself, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, when they refused to kneel down, that's the compliance side. But being compliant to the correct laws, not just any law that's out there, but to what is right, understanding what's right and doing it. And then what that produced is a very strong, steadfast C-style kind of response. Moses building the tabernacle, Noah building the ark, there were very detailed instructions for what to do. Solomon building the temple, all this stuff. There's very detailed instructions for what to do. That's a C style of behavior to make sure things are good, things are accurate, things look right. Architects, well, you've got design architects and then you've got the engineering type architects, but hopefully it's all works together in conjunction, and then you have a good solid building that's going to stay for a long time, like the tabernacle. Or a good solid boat that's going to float for a long time, like the ark, and be solid in that way as well. So hopefully this gives you some examples, some ideas, goes a little bit deeper in that arena of what does that C style of behavior look like? How can I know when I'm in it? And how can I hopefully discern when the situation calls for it versus maybe when I need to adjust out of it as well? Again, I'm going to sign off by saying, hope this helps. And until next time, thanks.